Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's August 25th. This will be our chart listen for today. And real quickly, quick look at our usual look at the daily chart. You can see we had another down day today. It looks like we maybe have just had a triple test. I don't know if this made a new high today. The high 64.96 and a quarter. 64.94. So no, we did not make a new high. So this is the signal bar here. If we turn lower, but doesn't mean we're not going to go lower here. We might turn back down, um, but it doesn't look like we're going to get a triple test that you could call a triple test where if you wanted to go short there or whatever. People always ask me, does this stuff work on different levels? Yeah, you can trade this chart just like you would the others. Just don't forget that your signal, your stops are going to be bigger. Your target needs to be bigger. If you're trading the daily chart, you're probably not going to be able to maintain your day trader status. You're going to carry a trade overnight, and that's going to mean you got to have full, uh, your margin's going to have full margin, and you're going to take on the overnight risk. Of course, now the market, unless you're taking it over a Friday night, it's not as dangerous as it used to be because the market only closes between 4 and 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. You have to convert that to your time zone, but still remember sometimes the market does gap on those openings even with only an hour there, and if you carry it over the gap there during the close, you're going to be charged full margin. And so instead of having a 400 day trader margin or 500, whatever your broker gives you, most of them are $400 or $500. Instead of that, you're going to have full margin, which might be 2,800 to 3,800 a contract, or whatever your broker charges. It's different between brokers, but it gets pretty expensive if you carry it overnight because there's a whole lot more risk, and that's the whole reason they give us day trader margin, because it's a lot less risky if you're not carrying trades overnight where the market can gap on you. So anyway, looks like we're going to at least turn down temporarily here. It may just be because we're encountering, let's draw our line across here, a little resistance here. I would call that right across there, and you can see we do have resistance. That is a triple test. Whether or not we're going to turn lower, we'll have to see. It may just trade higher from here. We may not ever get a break lower. Uh, but anyway, bearish day, kind of a sideways day, but we did trade down before the day was over. But let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart, take a look at it, go through the trades, and we'll try to wrap this day up. Okay, here we go. You can see we traded down during the overnight. We were just kind of working sideways for most of the morning, and we broke out, had a couple of legs up, and then we trended down the rest of the day. And it appears it looks like we had a little bit of an overshoot here to me. If you try to drag this on down, it doesn't really fit as well. Maybe it's still not an overshoot, but my read is going to say this is an overshoot because that fits really well. And you can see we're actually getting support and resistance off that lower line there, so that leads me to believe that's an overshoot. And a lot of times on an overshoot, you don't get a retest of the low. It just reverses. So we'll have to see what happens from here. That's a pretty good trend down, so it wouldn't surprise me if we don't test those lows to try to make a new low, a retest of the new low. But we'll see what happens. But you can see mostly sideways. Not a great channel here either. We did get some consistent lows across here in the end. The highs were a little iffy till we broke higher, and then this was a pretty solid spike and channel down here. It's pretty obvious. So, but let's zoom in here. 7 o'clock came just as we're kind of making this turn here, first break of this down channel. And of course we do get 2 legs down. I don't think that's worth trying to risk. Sometimes I'll mark those green, second entry long off the lows. But that signal bar doesn't qualify, so you definitely have to wait on a higher low, and you don't really get a setup for that either. You're just working higher, close outside new high, and it turns down. You don't get a good short either. You got your channel working down, close outside. It tries to make a new low and instead makes a triple test there and a second entry long with a very nice bullish signal bar. I like that one. That's where you want to go long. Boom. You get two legs up, and of course you don't get another chance to go short. And then by that time, we're just kind of working through this range here. Um, you do get a second entry here with a higher low. I didn't quite have this marked as resistance yet, or a little range within the range yet. I think you're just playing the lows of the range at this point. So I like that one. By the time it comes back, it's pretty obvious that, hey, there's a range here. So I don't think you can take that one. It ends up working, but you don't want to go long into that resistance when you had 3 bars in a row that are inside bars that could not break higher. Turns out it doesn't matter, but you don't know that in advance. And I don't think you can mark this as even green on the breakout. I think you have to have a lower high here because you're still in this channel. You don't have a break and a new high or even a close outside yet until you're way back down here. And you don't want to go long right into that resistance. You see how prices are struggling to go higher there. And they break out and fail pretty quickly and come back. This time you do. This thing is moved. Again, you don't have a close outside and a new high or anything, but you just start working lower, and you do get a close outside here and turn down right off the resistance. I like that just to try to ride it back to the other side. You're not going to get anything more than a scalp out of that, and then it bounces off the lows, but there's no setup down here. It looks like you're going to get a chance to go short off the highs, but it doesn't break lower there, and you get that inside bar, so you don't want to go short there. And you can see how that saves you some pain by paying attention to what's going on. It runs back up, but again, you don't get a chance to go short. Runs down here. You do get a close outside the new low. That bar, maybe that closes in the upper 1/3. I'm not crazy about it. You might can argue for that to be green. I wouldn't mark it blue, but maybe I can argue for it to be green. And of course, we get a spike up, and it turns into a spike and channel in the end. But there's just no setup to go long up here, and no real setup to go short either. But notice you finally get a little break of this spike and channel up here. This is your channel going up. This is right here. And you finally get a break, and then you get a first entry and a close outside on this channel and a new low, and a break above that is a second entry long after the break and new low. So I like that one as a second entry long. This channel is played out to the downside. You would expect prices to try to retest that high, and you can see it takes on up. We do make a new high. We actually make a new high and keep working sideways till you get a failed breakout. I don't see anything that I really like to the downside here or to the upside. I think you just have to sit tight. There's just no setups there that are worth taking. This one's right into the resistance. Even though it goes higher, you can't risk that because look how many times we turn down there. And this one's right into the support. So I think you want a lower high here. You do get one here, but it's right into support again. So there's nothing there until you get the failed breakout, and you have to mark that one green. Now this did break higher and fail and turn down, and that is completely green. So you could trade that on the engulfing bar. 95% of you should never trade an engulfing bar. You should wait till it closes, and when it closes bearish like that, you could argue to go short there. Again, you're better off to wait on the lower high. And you don't really get one, and it just takes off to the downside, and you end up in this channel. And then now this is shifted on us a little bit. Let me fix this. It should look like that. And we're just working lower here. And notice that's just a first entry. There is a second entry here, but that's an inside bar, and you can't use that for this is your signal bar. It doesn't qualify. Again, you're working up, and you get a first entry. You get a close outside and a new high, but again, that's your signal bar. It doesn't qualify. But you do get a second entry short here. Technically, by the counts, there's another little break lower, and so it's still a second entry short because you can count that as a new low, but on the bigger picture, I think it's also a second entry. So you can count it as a second entry two different ways. You could also argue that maybe that's a lower high off the key entry point. So there's several reasons to like that trade right there. Now, counting from here by itself as a second entry, I don't think I would like that trade. I wouldn't mark it probably red, but if you see the bigger picture second entry, plus this being a second entry and the lower high, I think there's enough reasons there to mark that red. Works on lower here. There's another second entry short here. Notice the new low, and it breaks lower, tries to go higher again. When it breaks below that, that's a second entry, but that's two sideways, and you're not back to the trend line. You hadn't reached the lower line. Just sit tight. Now, you could argue there's a triple test here, but you got to wait for this to close. You can't enter that on the engulfing bar. So I think you got to wait for that to close, and it doesn't qualify. I don't think that closes in this lower 1/3. It is a nice triple test right off the key entry point, but I don't like the signal bar. If you had a better signal bar there, by all means take it. It would have worked, but on my chart, it doesn't qualify, and I wouldn't have taken it. Just the first entry here, you're still in the uptrend, and that takes us into 230, and I don't see anything else there you could enter on. So kind of a quiet day, low volume today. You can see there's not near as many bars as what we've been getting on some days. So kind of a quiet day. Not a lot of trades either, but there are trades here you can take, but there's not many of them, and there's just not a lot of price action because there's not a lot of volume. So really kind of a quiet day. Yeah, it is what it is. I would say I think that Labor Day, what is coming up? Is it Labor Day? I always forget what September. I think it's Labor Day. Weekend's coming up. It's usually the first weekend in September. So I believe this coming Monday is going to be a holiday. I haven't seen the schedule yet, but I'm pretty sure this coming Monday is going to be holiday. So if it is, there will be no trading on Monday. So just kind of giving you an early heads up to keep an eye out on that. We'll talk about it. We'll update it before now and then. We'll double check the schedule and make sure I'm right, but I'm pretty sure it's Labor Day weekend, and we'll be taking Monday off. It'll be a short trading day. Anyway, there it is for today. Coming into the kickoff for college football season. So that'll be coming up this weekend. I'm a big college football fan, so I'm always excited about the opening weekend and Labor Day and the extended holiday and all that. There's usually some fun kickoff games that weekend, the extended weekend as well. So anyway, we'll look forward to that holiday, and I'll update you more on that as we get closer to that. But I did want to mention it early in case just because I didn't want to forget about it. But there it is for today. It's about all you can say about today. Kind of a quiet, low volume day. We'll see what tomorrow brings. If we're going to get some follow through selling, or if we're going to push higher again. So I think it could go either way. It wouldn't surprise me if we get some more selling with that triple test, but it's not a sure thing for sure that we're going to go lower. But it's looking like it's a possibility. So just keep that in mind. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I'm done for today. So I'll wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.